It is so hard to reinvent yourself if you haven't moved. I'll talk about that today on Reinventing You. How's it going? I'm Amelia Sims. This is Reinventing You, the channel where you can be inspired to take your own reinventing journey so that you can live an authentic life of joy, fulfillment, and purpose. I post twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I am glad that you are here. If you have not subscribed, please do so today. I recently was speaking with my coach and talking about how hard it is to reinvent yourself when you are in the same place. You have not really moved. Now, thankfully, I am not attending the church where I was the pastor, but I am in the same circles with a lot of other pastors. My husband's a pastor. He's still at the same church, so the people there know me as a pastor. It is so hard to break out of that mold and do something different. It is hard when you're living in the same place, when you have the same friends, when you have the same people who are friends on social media, when you are doing a lot of the same kinds of hobbies or attending the same kinds of classes or doing the same kind of exercising, seeing the same kind of people. It is so hard to make changes and to stick with your changes and to be that new person that you have envisioned and to really live into being fulfilled, to live out your purpose, and to have that joy because you're constantly reminded of your old self. And it is so much more comfortable to be your old self. Making changes is uncomfortable. I have a video up here that I've talked about some of the changes and how hard it is to change and why you need to change. Oh my gosh, it is so much easier just to do it the way you used to do it. I can't tell you how many times I find myself falling back on the old ways and then I have to correct myself and say, no, that is not who you are. You're not about that anymore. I recently was asked to do something in my husband's church and I had to say no. I was recently asked to do something in somebody else's church and I said yes. And now I'm like, could kick myself and it's going to be okay. I'm going to do it, but that's it. You know, I cannot do that again. I have got to be true to my new calling. I have got to stick with that new person. And if you're going to reinvent yourself, it's so easy to fall back on the old thing if you're still in the same place. I cannot imagine, and some of you may have been through this, where you have divorced your spouse and maybe because of situations, you're living in maybe the same school district so that your kids can go to the same school. So you take your kids to school and there's the same people, or maybe you have the same friends with your spouse. What do? Or you go to the same church, or you have the same exercise class or gym, and you're running into the same people. How do you become somebody new when everybody knows you as the spouse of your ex-spouse? That doesn't make sense. Anyway, I remember one time we had neighbors, and this has been several years ago, that they were getting a divorce, and I think there were some other problems. I'm pretty sure she may have been a drug addict. I know her son was, and they were going through a divorce, and because of some monetary economic issues, she could not leave the house. She had to live in the household. I think he lived upstairs, she lived downstairs, and it was just a recipe for disaster. And eventually they had a garage space, and she lived there, but then she had a boyfriend who lived, I mean, it was just, you could just imagine, it was just a really bad situation. And I remember one of the worst parts was they had really bad dogs, and one of the reasons why their dogs were so bad, I think, was because all of the emotional upheaval and nasty things that were happening in the house. You cannot make major changes and reinvent yourself easily if you are still in the same place. In other words, if you say, well, I need to make a career change, but I'm going to stay at this job. How do you do that? Or I need to reinvent myself, but I'm living in the same house. My husband has the same job that he did. How do I get out of that situation? People identify me as a pastor on a lot of social media sites. How do I get out of that? I actually use my title sometimes in some places, and I have to stop doing that. Not to say that I'm no longer an ordained pastor, but that is not my identity anymore. That is who I've been, and I can claim that as part of my authority, as part of my experience. but it's not who I am right now. And it is so difficult to make that change when you're still in the same place. So if you're going through a reinventing journey and you want to make some changes, just know that if you don't move, if you don't make some, physical changes, that it's really going to be difficult. Another example would be if you're trying to make some health changes and yet you have a whole bunch of friends who smoke and drink and overeat, it's going to be really hard for you to make some smart, healthy decisions for yourself. How do you feel about this? Is this something that really resonates with you? Please drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. And if you have not subscribed, I invite you to do so today because I want you to live an authentic life of joy, fulfillment, and purpose wherever you are. I'm Amelia Sims. This is Reinventing You. Have a great one.